Yeah. Order in the court, please. Miss Judge on the mic. Bring the choir in. Ay, Don Lemon in the back row. Fake fur, tight pants, and a weak glow. Trying to preach, but he reading from a talk show. Facts all wobbly, stunting for the B-roll. Oh, you ain't Peter, you ain't Paul. Those are just the guys you cracked at the mall. Right before you pulled up at a church hall. Don't blame the Christians and act appalled. Sunday service, families made prayer. Here you come, put my mic on air. Turn the pulpit to a press event. Now the bailiff taking evidence. Don Lemon, why you so bitter? Crying like a little bitch on Twitter. Unwatchable like Jennifer Welch. Gonna have to start a new show from a cell.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the following program. I am your host, Joe Neerman, aka Good Lawgic. I hope you had a phenomenal day. Hope it went smoothly. Smoothly is good. People underrate just how good smoothly is. A day that doesn't have a horrible moment in it, like a really memorably horrible moment, probably it's a good day. It's a good day. Just appreciate a day like that. For me, I can say thank God today, so far, when I'm doing a show, I never know if I'm going to have quite a horrible moment. But so far, today has been such a day for me. Thank you, God. So what do we have on tap for tonight? Well, I've got Blowback facing the Royals. Specifically, we mean, of course, Prince Andrew. That's coming from the Epstein files. And some of that heat has been brought to him courtesy of our based Vice President, J.D. Vance. We also have this very strange kidnapping story involving Savannah Guthrie's mother. Now, Savannah Guthrie is not a personality who I consider myself to be much of a fan of. I certainly don't wish any ill will on her or her person, and certainly not any family members. And this to me is a really, really strange story that I want to break down for you all. It's strange in so many different ways. And I look at this and I'm just like, this is weird. This is weird. I don't remember ever hearing a story like this before, but it's got national attention and it's capturing certainly keeping the local and presumably federal authorities heavily involved. So we're definitely going to be breaking that down. I also have a story about some crooked judges down in over in Detroit that have been charged with wire fraud. Jake Tapper freaking out over Trump's lawsuit. And I think that you can make a case that this is one of those rare occasions where I'm like, I sort of get where this guy is coming from on this one, and I think that it raises. I'll just get your thoughts as to like whether you think he's at least raising a point that should, in general, be concern for us. I also have a goal up that if we hit our regular goal of 15, you almost just saw a horrible moment live right there. If we get 15 super chats or Rumble Rinse, or people sending me, digging dollar shekels of $10 or more. We get 15 of those. I got a humanities section for you tonight. A humanities section that's going to be like attack on. And this humanities section is actually building off this state bill, which has been introduced in a woke state, restricting protests. And I'm very torn about this bill. I'm really, really torn about this bill as to whether or not I like it. And I'm going to have probably a lot of immersive, interactive conversations with y'all fine folk about that thing. That's if we hit our goal. That's again, our goal is 15 super chats, Rumble Rants, $10 of $10 or more. Sometimes we hit it. Sometimes we don't. If we hit it, great. If we don't, we're all good. We'll What I do ask of you is, if you're watching right now and you're enjoying the content, please make sure you hit like and subscribe. And if you're watching after the fact, you just drop a little comment down in the algorithm. It really, really helps keep that push I've got going. I got a little tiny little push, a little momentum building of like growing. I know. I'm as shocked as you. I'm as shocked as you, but it seems to be happening. Before I get into any of those stories I broke down for you, though, first, I do have to spend a moment or two just talking about this idiocy here. Kurt, brought to you by none other than one of the idiots in chief in our House representative. I'm referring this time to Ilhan Omar and her goggle glasses.
I represent Minneapolis.
Okay.
Which is
that's the you kind of claim otherwise sometimes, but all right, get to your point.
Currently under occupation.
No, you know that's crap. It's not occupation. Occupation would be like if citizens were being threatened. No citizens are being threatened at all. None. So no, that's not an occupation. You don't even know what the freaking occupation is. What the heck is Rashida Tlaib doing here? What the hell? Look how enormous this chick's gotten. She's gotten big. Woman gotten big.
We do not exaggerate.
Oh, you always exaggerate. You always exaggerate. You're not opening your mouth unless you're exaggerating. But go on.
When we say we have schools where 2/3 of the students are afraid to go to school.
Okay, that I'm positive is an exaggeration. I'm positive that that's an exaggeration. But get to your point.
We do not exaggerate when we say we have people who are afraid to go to the hospital because our
hospital. She can't even help but say like an Arab hospital. The hospital. I defy you if you have no Semitic blood recognizable in your lineage to try saying hospital the way she does.
Hospitals have occupying paramilitary forces.
Paramilitary forces. Paramilitary, they're coming in there. SEAL Team 6 is coming raiding into the Minneapolis hospitals.
We do not exaggerate when we say our restaurants are shutting down.
Are they? I'm sure there's a lot of reasons they're shutting down.
Because there are not enough people to drive the employees to work.
Because they're busy following ICE around. That's why. They're busy driving around like just like, oh, let me get a video of ICE over here. Hey, I got a whistle. Fee. You don't have people. Yeah. It's very hard when you send 6 people after every ICE agent.
And from work. We do not exaggerate when I say we have people who are housing other people.
We have people who are housing other people.
Because they are afraid to go home.
That's right. That's not citizens. That's the issue. And that is aiding and abetting, by the way. That's like those people who are housing other people. In theory, whatever crimes those people commit, they would be on the hook for them. It's true. It's crazy, I know, but it's true.
And that is all happening.
That's all happening. What the heck is with her?
In an American city.
It's an American city because you got too many citizens, too many folks there who are not Americans. That's why. We're trying to save you. We're trying to save you. You're standing in the way with your big goggle glasses.
We have 2 neighbors, 2 of my constituents, who were shot.
They're not okay. They were shot, yeah.
By federal agents as cameras recorded.
Yeah, because they were committing crimes. Well, one was committing a crime. He was trying to run over an ICE agent. The other was just a damn fool.
And their president maligned their name.
Yeah, because they were standing up for evil. They were standing up for a very evil cause, inspired by the likes of you.
And told us not to believe our eyes.
Not to believe our eyes.
When we say it is time for Kristi Noem to go,
no one cares.
we mean it now.
No one cares.
Help us go!
When we say there needs to be accountability for the architect of the terror we are facing in Minneapolis.
No one's facing any terror in Minneapolis. It's a self-imposed terror. You see, there's no terror that people are facing in Dallas. There's no terror that people are facing in Oklahoma City, in Cleveland, even. There's no terror that's being faced in any of these other places other than your self-imposed terror, which is being inspired by the likes of you, goggle glasses lady.
In so many other cities, which is Stephen Miller, we need accountability for him now.
That's right.
So thank you all for being here. Thank you for joining the call to get ICE out of our cities, for us to dismantle this department that is not just rogue, I say,
but
unlawful.
You don't know what the hell law. You don't even know. You don't even know what country you want to live in. You don't know the laws of this country, and you can't point to one thing that they did that was unlawful. I'm sure you'll try to pretend that and point to the deaths of Good and Pretty, which I actually wrote a little ditty of a song about that. I wrote a little ditty of a song about that, but Lady Lawgic panned it. She's like, no. She was like, no. She's like, it's not, no. But yeah, it was about Good and Pretty.
And yes, obviously, if Kristi Noem does not resign and the president doesn't fire her,
we're going to be whining and crying about it ad nauseum. That's just pretty much what you do for a living.
Democrats are ready and willing to impeach her.
Okay, so no one cares. Nobody cares. Yeah, so this idiot here, she says this thing that she says here.
We say we have schools.
We do not exaggerate when we say we have schools.
2/3 of the students are afraid to go to school.
Okay, let me tell you something. I heard this part. I stopped it when I was watching before. I stopped it shortly thereafter. That statement is basically a call for Trump to send in 50,000 ICE agents. If you have schools that are 2/3 illegal immigrants, we need a lot more ICE agents in Minneapolis. Like a lot more. If 2/3 of them are illegal aliens, we need a lot more friggin' ICE agents in Minneapolis. That's what you're telling me. It reminds me, like, when people make statements that they think that proves a point, when it literally proves the exact opposite, they'll cite a fact as if this is helping to promote their perspective, when it literally leads a sane person to the opposite conclusion. I brought this up recently. I used to be sitting on the planning board for my city, and I was told, hey, when people come and are asking for approval to subdivide their properties into smaller properties so that they can build more housing there, right? This is what the city planning board was directed this. You need to bear in mind that our city is one of the densest cities in the country. One of the densest cities in the country. And that's why when people come to you and say, hey, I want to subdivide my lot into 2 separate lots, and that way I can build I can have 2 units where we otherwise would have 1. You should be mindful of the fact that we are one of the densest cities in the country. Now, the person who was telling me this was a leftist who was saying, so since it's so dense, we need to have more housing. But I actually took that and I said, that fact that you're saying that we're one of the densest cities in the country is really an argument telling me that we should reject those requests to subdivide. Because what happens when you actually take a place and you say, you know what, instead of having 1 residence here, I'll have 2 residents. Well, that 1 residence has 6 families living in it. And if you suddenly make it into 2 smaller residences, each of those smaller residences will have 5 apiece in there. So it's just going to be that much more crowded. There's less room for parking, less room for the cars. There's more noise pollution. Everything about the situation gets worse as soon as you subdivide it and say, hey, let's build more houses here. If you're telling me we have a density problem, you know how you fix a density problem? Tear down the houses we have and don't rebuild them. They'll find somewhere else to go. That's the reality of it. So when you come to me and you say, be mindful of the fact that we have a density problem, I don't think that's leading me to the conclusion you want me to come to in this whole scenario. And I will say to you, I was mindful of the fact that we have a density problem. And I'm like, I think, maybe we shouldn't be subdividing. Just say. Similarly, when she comes to me and you have this House member of the House coming to me and saying to me, hey, we have schools where 2/3 of the students are afraid of going to school. I know it ain't black folk. I know it ain't white folk. I know it ain't legal. It ain't legal residents here who are afraid of it. The only conclusion I can properly draw from that statement that there's so many people who are terrified of going out in public, so many people who are shacking up in other houses, is we need a lot more of an ICE presence there so we can ferret these people out, root them out, and send them packing back home. Congratulations. You just won yourself a one-way trip to sunny Peru, or wherever the heck you come from. I don't care. It's really that simple. Oh, you have so many people like that. Should we go fishing in places that there's a sparse amount of fish, or should we go fishing where it's really dense, where there's a whole bunch of illegal aliens here? That's what you do. That's what you do. You don't need to get like the hook. You got to be coming out there with nets. We should be sending ICE out there with these big giant nets. Like you need 3 people to carry and run with them. Just running with the nets and just like sacking these people and just yanking them back home. That's what she's telling me here. That's what she's telling me. Like, oh my gosh, we got to step up this efforts dramatically. That's all she's telling me. Why would you tell us this? This is the stupidest thing in the world. Oh, wow. You got so many people, thousands of people scared to go to hospitals? All right. Should I go looking for the one illegal alien that's hiding somewhere in Kentucky? Or should I just send out ICE agents where every person who holds the door open, for every person who they trip over is like, oh my gosh, here's another illegal alien? I think that's probably where you would go. That's probably where you go. Right? I mean, it's just common sense. I don't know. I do think the giant nets, it works for fish. Maybe. They used to have them to catch people, sending them to insane asylum. We're not using them for insane asylum. Just dust those suckers on off and start running with like one of these oversized badminton things. And you just go running and I don't know. I mean, that's what she's telling me we got to be doing in Minneapolis. You got to, schools where you get just schools of kids who are all legal. Don't worry, we're coming, Minneapolis. We'll save you. Just saying. Well, anyhow. Speaking of people who need to be caught with nets, or someone who was recently caught, or in the process of getting caught with nets. Let's share this story about these Detroit judges who were seemingly pretty ostentatious in just how they stole from the most underprivileged people on earth.
A Detroit judge finds herself on the wrong side of the bench tonight. The feds have charged 4 people in a corruption scheme, including the judge, her father, and a guardian. They're accused of stealing hundreds of thousands of dollars from people at risk and unable to care for themselves.
Just stunning. 7 investigator Heather Catallo is here now after exposing allegations of corruption for over a decade in Michigan's guardianship system. And now this.
This is a huge federal probe Families have complained for a long time that the guardianship system makes it far too easy for people with power to take money from the vulnerable.
She so looks like a future host of The View, doesn't she? This woman, this defendant, she looks like she's like, oh yeah, when Sonny retires, I'm gonna just slide right on in there. I'm gonna slide right on in there.
That's exactly what the feds are alleging this judge and her co-defendants did.
Andrea Bradley Baskin, P70474, here on behalf of Miss Nancy Williams.
A lawyer turned judge who once defended a local guardian in court is now her co-defendant in a federal corruption case.
So these are the names of defendants in case: Nancy Juanita Williams, Andrea Jean Bradley Baskin, Avery James Bradley, and Dwight Hassan Rashad.
She looks forward to her name being cleared in these charges.
Before Andrea Bradley Baskin became a 36th district court judge, Bradley Baskin and her father, attorney Avery Bradley, often represented guardian Nancy Williams. Williams' guardianship agency, Guardian and Associates, was appointed to be the fiduciary for more than 1,000 cases in the Wayne County Probate Court. When a probate judge declares you legally incapacitated, a guardian can have total control over your medical and financial decisions, often with very little oversight. In this indictment unsealed Friday, Judge Bradley Baskin, Avery Bradley, Williams, and Dwight Rashad were all charged with conspiracy to commit wire fraud in what the feds call a years-long scheme to embezzle money from Williams' incapacitated wards. Bradley, the judge.
So in case you're a little confused by what they're talking about here, because you're not familiar with some of the legal terms that they're throwing out here, which you sort of probably have heard many times before and not really sure what they mean. Let me try and break it down for you, okay? Probate court is a section of the judicial system. It's its own separate section. The same way bankruptcy court is its own separate section, although that's federal. Probate court is going to be a state court thing, and it's a separate section. The same way housing court, it's its own separate section. Now it'll be subdivided under an umbrella of other sections, but so probate court is a reference to where they take care of things like wills, estates, and people who are generally incapacitated, right? So that's what probate court is for. They have judges who are specifically assigned to handle probate courts who are supposed to be expert in that particular area. So that's essentially what probate court is. Now, when you have someone who's incapacitated, what the court invariably is going to do in order to help make sure that the funds that are in the name of that individual are being used to take care and provide for that individual are going to be administered by a person who in New York we refer to them as a guardian ad litem, and it basically is a guardian that's designated by the court. Now the guardian ad litem, it happens to be a phenomenal position because now you're overseeing someone else's assets. And generally, according to the court orders, will direct that you're allowed to take from those assets an appropriate fee for your administration, for the work that you're doing to make sure that things are being handled in a financially responsible way. So that's the role that they're taking. So basically, this attorney who works with this company, which is routinely, because there are certain companies which are set up that, hey, will provide guardians ad litem, or they might have a different name in Michigan. I don't know. I'm not familiar with that particular strain of judicial action, but that the guardians who are appointed there, they tend to have people who it's the same way you would have housekeeping, and you would call up or you would have a mechanics you go to a mechanic and it's like there's a whole bunch of mechanics there who work for Pep Boys or Jiffy Lube. So they work for them. So the guardian ad litems would basically work for this company, and so this company is now farming out their work, and they'll get approved by the court, and then they'll probably have the individual get approved also, presumably. But they basically get that approval, and then they're the ones who are looking over the assets of these particular incapacitated individuals. The incapacitation can come as a result of age or dementia or other bodily infirmities or mental infirmities that people sometimes, alas, suffer even in earlier ages. But the point is that they're the ones who are handling these monies, and you'll have like the same persons or the same corporations which are overseeing the guardianship of many people, and it's an industry, and the same people will routinely come back before the same judge, because normally in a particular district, even a very busy district like Detroit or New York, you're not talking about there being a lot of different probate judges. Sometimes you'll have, and just in a county, just there's only one probate judge. That's it, same judge for all cases in that county. That's a very common thing. So when you get assigned as a probate judge, you know that this company they're almost working together day by day. And that doesn't mean there's anything illicit that's happening there. Something in 98 out of 100 cases, there's nothing illicit going on. It's just that the same players are in the same roles in case after case after case, because you have a person who's incapacitated. Well, we need to find someone who's capable and competent for overseeing them. Oh, this company here has people who are capable and able to work together. And who's going to decide and sign off on all this? Well, it's going to be the same probate judge time after time. So none of that is irregular. What's irregular is when they start dipping into the coffers and they basically start using the assets as their own personal piggy bank. And perhaps that's not sufficiently unusual. What's unusual is that they get caught doing it. I'm not saying it happens frequently. Don't get me wrong. I don't want anyone to walk away from watching this and think to themselves, oh yeah, this happens all the time. I don't think it does. But I'm sure it happens. I'm sure it happens more often than it gets caught. And the frequency with which it gets caught is, well, I'm talking about it for a half hour here tonight because this rarely happens.
Judge and Rashad are also charged with money laundering.
Ms. Williams is definitely a responsible citizen.
Williams was previously convicted of election fraud for forging signatures on her ward's absentee ballots. The feds say Williams and Bradley Baskin allegedly took $203,000 for themselves from one ward's legal settlement.
They just like, oh, okay, that's ours. That's ours. Why not?
Rashad ran group homes, and FBI agents say Williams allegedly paid him rent for wards who never lived in the homes. According to the indictment, Judge Bradley Baskin is accused of using $70,000 of one ward's funds to purchase an ownership stake in a bar, and she's accused of using another ward's.
So she's just like, oh, I'm going to take this money, I'm going to use that, and now I'm going to get this. I'm going to get a piece of this bar put in my name. Oh, that's nice.
Money to pay for a lease on a Ford Expedition.
How stupid are they? How stupid.
The fact that a judge and an attorney have now been indicted, it shows just how brazen folks feel like they can be.
Yeah. So let's take a little bit more of a look at exactly what they did here. According to the DOJ, this is their Eastern District of Michigan's press release. Sitting judge and 3 others charged with scheme to steal hundreds of thousands of dollars from vulnerable incapacitated wards. Let me make this adjusted a little bit here so we can actually all see it. It's time for me to update that little picture there, I think. No, I've had that up there for a long time. It's probably time, right? It's probably time. That's what I should have. I should have like a little vote. This screensaver thing that I have up here, which is basically the Bidens and Carter Munchkinland. This is not a doctored photo. This is an actual photo, which I've had as my screensaver for at least 4 years now. And probably close to 5. Just because it would cheer me up just to see how tiny the Carters were next to the Bidens. I always thought it was funny. But I think it's time for me to update this. So maybe we should have like a little vote. Like, what should Joe's new screensaver be? It's called screensaver, right? That's what I assume. I don't know. Whatever. It should probably happen. It should probably happen soon. Anyhow, And yes, I thought about covering this also. There's an allegation that Jill Biden's ex-husband killed his new wife. Well, I guess his second wife. I am fascinated by little people. I am. Oh, I meant to pull these up here. Was your Diddy song to the Good and Plenty jingle? Yes, it was. Oh, once upon a time there was an engineer. Doo-doo. Neville Singham was his name. We hear. Anyway, it needs work though. It needs work. But it was good and pretty, good and pretty, good and pretty, good and pretty. That was what it just sort of popped into my head. I always like that song. It's a great song. And I know it's before your time for many of you, but you know what? Now that you bring it up, maybe I'll inspire someone. It's always good to inspire people.
Once upon a time there was an engineer. Choo-choo Charlie was his name, we hear. He had an engine and he sure had fun. He's good and plenty candy to make a train run.
Charlie says, love my good and plenty. Charlie says,
Come on. How is there not something here? There has to be something here.
really rings the bell. Charlie says, love my good and plenty. Don't know any other penny that I love so well.
Good and plenty, good and plenty. Well, that's at the end of it. Well, anyway, that was the tune. Yeah, but I wasn't satisfied that it was funny enough. And if it's not funny, it'll come all across as being very tasteless, like really tasteless. So you have to either land it, otherwise you're basically a douche. Even if you land it, you're it's kind of skirting the whole douchey line. It's kind of you're marching right up there. But if you don't land, if it's not funny, that's just bad. It's just bad all over. I'm so black pill, I'm ready to check out. I feel like I'm drinking from a fire hose of Democrat Marxist BS. Come on, just see through it. That's all. And Thune being a jerk, he is. I'm snowed in with cabin fever and a repeat PET scan on Monday. Depressed. Don't be depressed. There's Donald Trump's in the White House. Okay? It's not Joe Biden. It's not Kamala. Don't be depressed. Don't be depressed. So. Zan says, Joe, I found a video that makes me think we should all support Bad Bunny. LOL. I don't know anything about Bad Bunny other than the fact that he's some woke musician. I think he might be trans. I'm not even sure. And that he's supposed to be performing in the Super Bowl. But I will share this. I will share this because Uzelian was contributing towards our goal tonight with this. So I'll share this with you real quick.
I just want to say muchas gracias to el presidente Trump and ICE for deporting all these illegal aliens and for pepper spraying all these white liberal crazy fat bitches. Mucho loca muchacha. Anyway, everyone in this room is a retard except for Jelly Roll. You're cool. Everyone else can kiss both sides of President Trump's big, beautiful ass. Muchas gracias, bichachos. I just want...
Probably not exactly what he said there. Probably not exactly what he said. All right, coming back to our story here about this indictment. 4 Detroit area residents, including a sitting judge and local attorney, were charged for their roles in a years-long scheme to embezzle money from incapacitated individuals. U.S. Attorney Jerome F. Gorgon Jr. announced today. Gorgon was joined and announced by Jennifer Runyon, special agent in charge of the FBI Detroit field office, and Karen Wingard, special agent in charge of the Internal Revenue Service Criminal Investigations Detroit Field Office. Nancy Williams, Avery Bradley, 72, Andrea Bradley Baskin, that's Avery's daughter, the judge. Well, she's the judge, who's 46. And Dwight Rashad, all Detroit residents were charged via indictment with conspiracy to commit wire fraud. The indictment also charges Bradley with one count of wire fraud. Bradley Baskin, and Rashad with several counts of money laundering, and Bradley Baskin with a single count of making a false statement to federal law enforcement agent. According to indictment, probate courts regularly appoint guardians and conservators. Sometimes they're called conservators. I'm really not sure the distinction. To be frank with you, I'm not sure the difference between a guardian and a conservator. I think a conservator is designed to protect the money as opposed to a guardian who's supposed to be administering the money. In other words, protect the money and in wise investments. I think that's their role. To manage personal and financial affairs of adults known as wards, who have been found by the court to lack the capacity to do so themselves. Guardians and conservators are fiduciaries who are obligated to act in the best interests of their wards. So don't be taking advantage of these old people. The indictment alleges that Nancy Williams owned Guardian and Associates. So was she named here? No, she is. She's the first one. An agency was appointed as a fiduciary by the Wayne County Probate Court for incapacitated wards in over 1,000 cases. Like I said, that part is not strange. That could be a very lucrative business model. Avery Bradley is an attorney who, along with his daughter and fellow attorney Andrea Bradley Baskin, operate a law firm that often represented Guardian and Associates in Wayne County Probate Court and otherwise practiced regularly in that court. Bradley Baskin then she went from being a lawyer to being a district judge on Michigan's 36th District Court. So that doesn't sound like she's in the probate courts. Doesn't sound like she's part of that. She's just a judge who used to represent this. I'm assuming she's not the probate judge herself, because they would normally refer to her as a probate court judge, I would think. Dwight Rashad operated a series of group homes and residential facilities for elderly individuals, including wards who need support and care. The indictment alleges that the four defendants conspired to systematically embezzle funds from wards and obtain and retain money for themselves that rightly belonged to these poor old folks and their estates. The indictment sets forth numerous examples of the co-conspirators working together to misappropriate money belonging to the wards. So, for one time, the judge is led to use $70,000 of awards funds to purchase an ownership stake in a bar. Another, Bradley Williams and Rashad are alleged to have taken for themselves $203,000 in funds from awards legal settlement, with none of the money being used to benefit the ward. Oh, you want a settlement? Congratulations, we're rich. Williams is alleged to have paid Rashad rent for wards who did not live in one of Rashad's homes. Bradley Baskin, in another case, is alleged to have used money embezzled from the estate of a ward to pay a 2-year lease on a new Ford Expedition for herself. Well, look who's styling in her driving. Look who's styling. They're crooks. Quote, we respect the authority that covers a black robe. This state judge and her cronies allegedly abused that high honor for personal gain by preying on the needy protected by the court. This would be a grievous abuse of our public trust, said U.S. Attorney Gorgon. This is totally a reason to lose your license forever. Forever. These people cannot be attorneys, much less judges. Regardless of a person's position in society, no one is above the law. These four defendants allegedly conspired to steal from some of our most vulnerable citizens, looting bank accounts, exploiting legal authority, and profiting off of those who relied on them for care and protection, said Jennifer Runyon, special agent in charge of the FBI field office. Let me be clear. If you prey on the vulnerable, we will find you and bring you to justice. Finally, I want to recognize all these fine people. I don't care about the recognition is. And yeah, so those are the charges. Sounds like some pretty serious stuff, huh? They could be looking at wire fraud. It's about hundreds of thousands of dollars in wire fraud. What kind of time are we looking at? Wire fraud. 18 USC 1343. That's not what I wanted. Yeah, that's what I thought. It's going to be a long thing here. Whoever having devised or attained devised scheme to artifice to defraud or for obtaining money or property by means of false fraudulent pretenses to be fined as held in prison not more than 20 years or both. The violation occurs in relation to involving any benefit authorized, transport, transmitted, transfer, dispersed, or paid in connection with the presidentially declared major disaster emergency. So that would be for that. Oh, and then it goes up to 30 years in that circumstance. So basically, in general, you're looking at 20 years here. These are terrible people. Horrible. Horrible people. Stealing from, like, incapacitated folks. What's wrong with you? Seriously. Seriously, what the hell is wrong with you? All right. One other weird thing that, like, I want to ask you guys about. I got a feeling if I was a Christian, this would make me really outraged. I didn't cover this in it's not in my title or description, but consider this a little bonus for you. Iowa Church hosts anti-ICE activist training on how to obstruct federal immigration enforcement. That's kind of sickening. I'm just going to say. That's kind of sickening how they pervert. How they pervert a house of worship. Training was sponsored by Escucha Mi Vaz, Indivisible Lynn County Metro, and St. Paul United Methodist Church, where the training was held. Look at these pictures here. Look at these pictures. Over the weekend, over 500 people attended an anti-ICE legal observer training at Cedar Rapids, Iowa Methodist Church. During the training, simulations were performed mimicking ICE agents undertaking arrests. Video from the event showed actors dressed as immigrants, agents approaching people stationed at the front of the church sanctuary and taking them under arrest. Someone shouted at the audience, "Get your cameras out!" as one of the actors led the fake detainee out of the room. A person with a phone out following shouted, "You have to show us an arrest warrant." Well, that's not true. That's just not true at all. Some clown who's walking after an ICE agent has zero authority to demand production of a warrant for arrest. The arrestee would have a right to see that. But some clown who's just walking behind saying, "You have to show me. You have to show me the arrest warrant." No, who the hell are you? Why do I have to show you? I have to show you my financial records also. Why would I have to show you any of this crap? Buzz off. Go away. You have to show us. You have to show us. This is a good question. How is my favorite like farmer doing tonight? Have you hit like yet? Have you hit the like and subscribe buttons yet? St. Paul's United Methodist Church in Cedar Rapids, Iowa has been training people. Let's watch a little bit of this. I haven't seen this yet. Oh Lord. Oh Lord.
Get your cameras out! You gotta watch. You have to show us an arrest warrant. You have to show us an arrest warrant.
Well, at least in their demonstration, the ICE agent is properly ignoring them because that is what they would do because they have no reason to respond. These people are sick. So now there's training seminars being held in churches. In a second simulation, audience members were seen swarming the agent as the crowd yelled "ICE out," blew whistles, and filmed the fake incident. A flyer for the event described it as legal observer training, during which participants would learn your rights when documenting injustice, how to film safely and responsibly, and how to share our neighbors' stories. Training was sponsored by Escucha Mi Voz, Indivisible, Lynn County Metro, and St. Paul's United Methodist Church, where the training was held. Escucha Mi Voz, Iowa. What? Said that nearly 600 people attended the event, adding community members, faith leaders, and organizers arrived with a commitment to learn how to protect our people, document injustices, and care for each other on the streets. This is what collective power looks like. This is what face of evil looks like. This is insanity. Organizers said that filming arrests is important when people believe ICE officers are not following standard procedures. They don't know what the hell standard procedures are because they think that standard procedures is producing an arrest warrant when some jackass walks up to them and demands it. Reverend Jonathan Heifner, St. Paul's lead pastor, told KCRG, if they're abandoning them or they're disregarding them, then it's even more crucial that we're aware of what our role in a public space is. Yeah. So, sorry for horrifying you with that story, but I felt you should be aware. So, now you are. Also, one more little clip of news here, speaking of these anti-ICE lunatics. So, one of the ones who tried killing an ICE agent, that one whose name was Renee Good, has been corroborated that she was officially part of these anti-ICE watch groups. Confirmation Renee Good was indeed a member of the extremist Signal secret chat network that is organizing the insurgency in Minneapolis. Another account with matching details to decreased armed radical Alex Preddy was also discovered last week. Christina Buttons, who's got 97,000 followers, she says, I identified an account using the name and photo of Renee Good and Defend the 612 Signal neighborhood chat where she lived. After her death and the media's attention that followed, organizers began encouraging nicknames and greater anonymity. Yeah, that sure as heck looks like her. No. I'll refrain from making a crude joke. God, I grew up in Iowa. How embarrassing. We weren't brought up to be sucky idiots, I promise. Every state's got them, just a matter of quantities. You got at least 500 of them in your fair states. The singer Billie Eilish got all sorts of acclaim at the Grammy Awards for basically saying that you cannot be an illegal alien on stolen land. That was she got all sorts of fanfare about that, which is like, oh, so stunning and brave that she came out with that statement in front of a few hundred of her fellow idiots who are all exactly of the same opinion. Which I didn't bring to your attention only because I assume that nobody has ever watched the Grammys. They're the stupidest award show in the world. But aside from that, just the idiocy. I'm so tired of hearing the stolen land thing. So tired of it. Just because it's such a ridiculous claim. First of all, most Native Americans don't believe there's such a thing as land ownership. If you don't believe that there's land ownership, then whatever land you're on, you don't own it. Right? You can't own land if you don't believe that there is such a thing. You're just visiting it. And you're no longer visiting it once you're forcefully removed. I know you all are going to be sitting there in the chat saying things to me like, you know, the different tribes owned it at different times and they conquered each other, and that's all true and factual. My point is, if you don't have land ownership, how the hell can I steal your land? You never owned it by your own position. But I saw this clip which was pretty funny about how it was Megyn Kelly had this clip. Let me see if I can dig up what I was watching earlier. Yeah, look at my history here. No, you don't get to see that. How am I not seeing it? Nope. Maybe I saw it on X. Is that what it is? Give me a moment. Just because I think you'll think this is funny. And if I could share with you something that you think is funny, this is good for everyone involved.
Billie Eilish,
I think this is it.
who might be the most depressed person in America. I mean, I like all of her music is like. She shows up and she's ready to talk about ICE with her disgusting outfit. Truly, she was one of the worst dressed. But here she was with a message, just like her fellow artists for ICE in SOT 8.
No one is illegal on stolen land.
I'm just going to say, this face looks like it's literally an AI plastic face. This looks like every face I've ever seen on AI.
Okay.
And yeah, it's just really hard to know what to say and what to do right now. And I feel really hopeful in this room, and I feel like we just need to keep fighting and speaking up and protesting, and our voices really do matter, and the people matter. And
well, good news, Billy, because there's something that you can do.
You literally look like the human embodiment of a domino, which is a great game, but it wouldn't really be my motivation for the Grammys. I mean, what? Okay. She, like everybody else who got up there to lecture us, has got more money than God. Her property records reveal she paid $14 million for her LA estate back in 2023. Yeah. And the property spans, Jesse, nearly 4 acres on an oak tree studded hillside, gated, of course, accessed via a very long, sinuously winding driveway. No part of the house itself is visible from the street, but it's quite large. 6 bedrooms, 7 baths, nearly 7,000 square feet. It's located on the ancestral, unceded land of the Tongva people. Wait a minute, Billy. It's on ancestral land.
We got an answer for you, Billy. How you can take a stand.
The County of Los Angeles formally recognizes that it occupies land originally and still inhabited and cared for by the Tongva, along with other indigenous groups. She has a net worth of well over $50 million, of course. And Billy is just fine with her 24/7 security team and her gates and her 4 acres outside of LA. But the rest of us need to live ungated, unprotected, without all the acreage, and just deal with the murderous, raping illegals that she wants sicked on us, or we're bad people. Billie Eilish.
That wasn't the Megyn Kelly clip I was looking for, but she referenced there the Tongva. The Tongva apparently are very intrigued by her comments. Let's see if we can find another clip on this. What is this?
We're talking about all things Grammys. And even if you didn't watch the Grammys, I didn't, I can tell you.
Yeah, I want to see actual, like, something that I've heard of.
Ask Billie Eilish. She says America's just made up all this land that was taken unjustly from people, but is the singer also living on stolen land is the question. Well, according to a local tribe out in California, she built her mansion on property that belongs to Native Americans. We talked to the Tongva tribe out in Southern Cal who says she's living on their property, saying this in part as the first people of the greater Los Angeles basin. We do understand that her home is situated on our ancestral land. Eilish hasn't contacted her tribe directly regarding her
Reach
property.
out to them,
So
Billy.
back in 2020, comedian Ricky Gervais was ahead of this. He said, please do not get up here and use the stage as a platform for politics, saying in part, you're in no position to lecture the public about anything. You know nothing about the real world. Most of you spent less time in school than Greta Thunberg. Now mocking Grammy winners because he said they're doing it again, saying they're still not listening. Ask Billie Eilish. She says America's just made up all this land that was taken unjustly from people, but is the singer also living on stolen land is the question. Well, according to a local tribe out in California, she built her mansion on property that belongs to Native Americans. We talked to the Tongva.
Anyway, so that's yeah. Apparently they're like, we would appreciate some acknowledgement. I think they're entitled to reparations from Billie Eilish. Give us back our property. We want our property back. That's what they should be saying. They need counsel. That's what they need. They need good counsel. Say, hey, Billy, get the hell off our land. Side note, Joe, Utah Governor Cox added 2 Utah Supreme Court judge seats. They're chipping away at our republic. So they always do. So they always do. Sorry about that. Sorry you have to deal with that. Dominion, I told you I ain't reading this. It's not happening. He's got this whole thing. He wants people to go to at King of Biltong and get and try their meats at King of Biltong. So, yeah. It doesn't even make sense what you wrote here. Because something you eat wouldn't be pounding you. So, no, that's not even proper English. And heck, no, I'm not reading that. The longer I wait for my money, the more I'm going to charge you to that read. I'm not doing that read. I reserve the right to retain my dignity. All right. I want to talk to you about Jake Tapper's belly aching about Trump, because I think this is an interesting topic. And by interesting, I mean, you might have some thoughts. You might even agree with Jake Tapper to some degree here. I have to think about this a little bit.
Did you know that President Trump just sued the federal government for $10 billion?
He did?
Billion with a B. And if he wins that much, if he wins that sum, guess who's on the hook for it? Guess who pays? You.
Well, you too. But yeah, you as much as we all pay it. It's true, I guess. We pay it probably in having an increased deficit, but yeah.
American taxpayer. It started on Thursday when President Trump, his 2 sons, Eric and Don Jr., and the Trump Organization sued the IRS and the Department of Treasury for failing to protect their tax information. And they're seeking this huge sum, $10 billion, which I believe is worth more than Donald Trump is worth.
Probably. Maybe. I don't know.
And it is true that the IRS and Treasury Department did not protect their records, and there was an IRS contractor that...
Oh, this is nice. Having Jake Tapper admit that it's true, that he really was victimized by the IRS. This is a news flash. This is breaking.
Leaked his tax information to the New York Times, which then wrote a story
that they basically breached their fiduciary duty, their duty to protect his privacy,
indicating that President Trump had not paid any federal income taxes in 10 of the previous 15 years, claiming
that he had losses.
He had lost much more than he had made during that time. And ProPublica got some leaks too, and they reported on the big discrepancies between what Trump and his businesses told lenders properties were worth versus what they told the federal government when it came to how much taxes they were going to pay.
Which in part may have likely led to Letitia James' whole civil action against him, where they entered a $470 million judgment against him.
On those properties. We have reached out to the Treasury Department and IRS to comment on this. Now, a few things. One, we should note that the contractor, Chaz Level-John, was prosecuted and is currently serving 5 years in prison for those leaks.
So someone's serving prison time for this. It definitely sounds as if he was wronged and he's entitled to a civil judgment. The $10 billion figure sounds kind of high. Sounds kind of high. Sounds like a lot of money. But yeah, so summing it up here, he's definitely been damaged. Even Jake Tapper admits he was damaged.
And others. And we should also note that the Trump organization and the Trump family claims that those leaks, quote, caused reputational and financial harm, public embarrassment.
And you can't deny that they did.
Unfairly tarnished their business reputations.
And definitely did that too.
Portrayed them in a false light and negatively affected President Trump and the other plaintiffs' public standing.
Which was the goal. That was the reason it was released. It wasn't just like, oh, that was something that ended up happening. The reason it was released specifically was to cause these damages to these plaintiffs.
Now, 3 things to keep in mind about this lawsuit against the IRS and the Department of Treasury. 1, it does not justify the leaks, but President Trump broke from decades of precedent by being a presidential nominee of a major party.
That's not relevant at all.
Who refused to disclose his tax information.
That's not even a relevant factor at all. That's his personal choice. Who cares about what precedents there were? There was no obligation for him to do it. You know there was no obligation for him to do it. It's a pretty silly claim in the first place there, Jake. Get to something that actually matters.
So that's 1.
No, that's not 1. That's 0. We're still at 0. Give us 1.
Number 2, President Trump has already suggested that he's going to seek $230 million from the federal government for something else, for the Justice Department, for the investigations into whether or not he or his campaign cooperated, participated with the Russian government in their attempts to interfere in the 2016 election.
Also not relevant to these particular damages. Still waiting for you to make a point. This is not a point. So far, 0 points here. What other presidents have done historically, who the hell cares? That doesn't mean that the government has a right to invade his privacy. If he chooses not to do it, he very clearly made that choice. Who cares?
And also the investigation into his possession of classified documents after he left office.
Which was all crap also.
2021. Third, just think of the potential conflicts of interest here.
Now, this point that he's making here, I do think is an interesting point. And that's really why we're watching this, is because I do think that this is an interesting point, the conflict of interest scenario that we're dealing with in this particular lawsuit.
Who is going to decide whether or not to settle with President Trump and the Trump Organization and Sons?
Someone who works for Trump.
At the Department of Justice or the IRS or the Department of Treasury, who is going to make those decisions? Well, people who work for President Trump, people who are probably allegiant to President Trump, they will decide whether or not they're going to pay the whole sum, whether they're going to fight it in court, whether or not they're going to offer some money as a settlement. He's asking for $10 billion. Maybe we should offer him $5 billion, hypothetically. What do
you wouldn't offer him 5, but you'd probably start like at a few million. Maybe even 100 or 200 million. And yeah, you probably wouldn't start at a few hundred million. But yeah, you would start at some number that is more than you or I make in a year.
What do you think they're going to do? How do you think they're going to decide this? We should note that the New Yorker's David.
And I think this is an interesting point. And I want to get your thoughts on this. It's a little easier to assess this if we just remove Donald Trump from the equation here, unless you hate Trump. If you hate Trump, in that case, Donald Trump is fine for this example. But if you're not someone who hates Trump, just imagine that it was Kamala who was sitting in the White House and she decided to sue the federal government for $1 billion, $10 billion, $50 billion, $100 billion. And now you have the president of the United States suing the United States for a purported wrong. And I think this is an interesting question. The same way with respect to criminal action, you would think that you should have some sort of independent agent who's, doing the internal investigations, and that person we call a special prosecutor or an independent prosecutor. So too, you would think that with respect to a lawsuit like this, you want someone who's not beholden to the person who's suing, because it looks wrong. It looks really, really wrong. So, if Kamala Harris was doing this, you and I would be outraged. Now, we're less outraged because, we like Trump and we see all the wrongs that he suffered. But that doesn't mean that if you're looking at this with true impartiality, that you're like, this doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel right that the attorneys who are representing your interests, my interests, are beholden to the person who's suing, who they're negotiating with. So this point that he's making, I think, is a very reasonable point. The first 2 points are stupid. Who cares? I don't care what former presidents did. I don't care about other lawsuits that he has because of, other damages that he suffered. I do care about the notion of actually having fairness. Like, how can you have a fair judicial system here when, a fair resolution to a claim when you don't have someone who's able to stand up for our interests, in the people of the United States' interest, when that individual is beholden to the person who he's arguing against, who's advocating against. That would be a good resolution. That's what I'm saying. It seems like there is a conflict here. It seems like there's a very serious conflict here. And you're right. Trump would never win if a Democrat was president, if he did this lawsuit. And that too would not be fair. Perhaps this is why he waited on filing this lawsuit until after he won. So I was trying to, and if you're watching afterwards, if you're watching after I wrap up here, in the after show, I'd like to get your feedback on this. What do you think is like a fair thing to do here when a president, has a good faith claim that he's been wronged? Even Jake Tapper had to admit that all these things did happen to him. And it was so beyond a reasonable doubt that this happened to him. That person's sitting in jail for it. Now, with respect to claims against that individual, Trump can bankrupt that guy for the wrongs that he committed. But technically, if he's working for the United States would be liable for that on the respondeat superior. So it doesn't really feel like there's that much of a difference, though, does it, Edwin? Does it really feel like there's that much of a difference? I want you to put yourself in the role of someone who's the attorney, who's a U.S. attorney on behalf of the United States defending this action from Trump. You can't tell me that the person wouldn't feel like, you know what? If I make a generous offer to him, that could be politically enhancement to my entire life. And which person is going to be upset about it? A bunch of leftists. And I'm not disputing that he should be compensated. I agree with you. He should be compensated. I'm simply saying when you try to put a number as to what is appropriate compensation, you sort of have to ask yourself, who is it that's going to try and clamp down on that number to make sure it's fair? Trump's working for free, Joe. Gotta get something. Okay. Does that mean $10 billion? Or a settlement offer of $9.5 billion? Right? I mean, let's think it through. I mean, that's... It's true. He donates his salary. I don't think he's bleeding. Although they say he was worth less money after he finished his term than before, which makes him very different from Barack Obama or George W. or Clinton or any of these people who all got rich as a result of being president. They say that when he finished in 2020, in his first term, he was worth less money than he was in 2016. I just think it's fair because you sort of have to ask yourself, what would I want to see happen if it was someone on the other side? What would I think is a fair way to handle this if I was on the other side? Because I was on the other side, I'd be like, the opposite side would be like, no, it should be illegal for a president to sue the United States. I don't think that's fair because over here, the United States wronged him. Let me take a look at the ghetto, make sure I'm not missing anything in the ghetto. Time. Anyway, I do think that perhaps there should be independent counsel or something to that effect who would stand up on his behalf. But it's even hard to know how you would appoint someone who's fair. Or maybe on a civil suit, you get his political adversaries against him to defend him. Maybe that's the way you do it. Like a Jamie Raskin type would be someone who would be, trying to fight him in court hard, rather than someone who works at the U.S. Attorney's Office. I don't know. Tell me your thoughts. Drop a comment as we move from the legal world and philosophy to the world of the weird. Nancy Guthrie is probably a name you haven't heard before. His Fourth Amendment rights were violated. It's his big ask. Yeah, I understand that, but that's a really big ask. It's $10 billion. It's a really big ask. It's a really, really, really big ask. It's a really big ask. And if he said 20 billion, would you say that's okay? If he said 50 billion, if he said 100 billion, 10 billion just sounds like, a made up number. And I'm not saying he wasn't wronged. He was wronged. I'm not saying it didn't cost him millions of dollars. It did. It almost certainly did cost him millions of dollars. And he should be properly compensated. And the pain and humiliation, aggravation he had to deal with it, I think he should be compensated for that too. I'm simply saying I don't know who's in the right position to actually negotiate this with him or his attorneys. Because at the end of the day, the person who's negotiating with him ultimately is going to be looking for a raise from him. Like that, you can't. You almost can't have an arm's length negotiation when the person on the side of the table knows that they're going to be coming to you for a favor 10 minutes later, or hoping you're going to be being extra nice to them 10 minutes later. Even if they're not going to be coming to you for a favor, they're hoping that, hey, you know what, a nice promotion that'd be cool. I'm just being real. I try to be fair about these. I try to figure out like what is actually fair. And I understand people saying this. I understand that. It will ultimately be added onto our national debt. These are good questions. All right. I'm moving on. I explore topics with you, and then we move on. You could drop a comment down afterwards if maybe you get inspired with some sort of brilliant idea that no one's brought up yet, or if you agree with some of the ideas that some people are throwing out here. Let me know. Let me know. We're going to move on to Nancy Guthrie, who is an individual you likely haven't heard of, an 84-year-old woman, Nancy Guthrie, mother of Savannah Guthrie. Savannah Guthrie is a name you're more likely to have heard of. She is some NBC talking head. If you look at this picture, in case you're not sure, wait, which one's Savannah Guthrie? It's this woman over here is Savannah Guthrie. Let's pretend jurisdiction matters. I don't see where jurisdiction plays a role in this. Unless you're saying that he's got a sue in Washington. I mean, if he sues in Washington, he's not winning a nickel. All right. Nancy Guthrie is mother of Savannah Guthrie. She's 84 years old. Here's a timeline of events that happened to Nancy Guthrie, who she is missing. This elderly woman is missing. She doesn't look so elderly here, but she is missing. And here is the story of her being missing. Nancy Guthrie, 84, arrives at her home in the Catalina foothills at 9:45 p.m. on Saturday, January 31st. She'd spent the evening having dinner with her family, including her daughter Annie, who drove her home. It's believed Annie is the last person to have seen her mother, and that was at 9:45 p.m. Sunday morning, a few hours later at 2 a.m., Nancy's pacemaker last syncs with her Apple devices at home. Investigators believe she's abducted around this time. This is very strange because you rarely hear about someone who isn't, I don't know, famously wealthy being kidnapped. You don't really hear stories like this too often these days. The reason it's called kidnapped is because it's usually kids, right? You don't hear elder napped, unless you're talking about someone who fell asleep during the Blue Plate special. But, Nancy, at 11 a.m., she fails to arrive at a regular church service. A member of the congregation calls her family. So I guess she must have been a very regular there. And they're like, oh, we don't know why she's not here. We want to make sure she's okay. 11:10 in the morning, family members arrive at her home to find it empty. Now, she does seem to have a very expensive home here. A little circular driveway, nice big pool in the back. There's some sort of pool house activity going on here. This looks like a friggin' mansion. Right? This is, so they call it a $1 million Arizona home. And it looks like it costs at least that. Anyhow, so on Sunday, February 1st, family members arrive and see that it's empty. Her house is empty. She lives on the outskirts of Tucson, Arizona. 12:15 p.m., Nancy's reported missing to the Pima County Sheriff's Department. By the time investigators arrive at her home, a doorbell camera is found to have been removed, sources said. Police are said to find Nancy's car, phone, and wallet inside, and blood drops leading from the entrance to the driveway. That doesn't sound good. Monday, Sheriff Chris Nano says he believes Nancy was taken against her will between approximately 9:30 p.m. Saturday and 11 a.m. Sunday. The home is treated as a potential crime scene and the homicide detectives are involved. So that's our timeline of events. But that's not the end of the weirdness of this story. There's more. Let me just get the overall breakdown of this before we see if we have a better feel for what's going on here. Chilling photos of Nancy Guthrie's crime scene as cops investigate series of ransom notes. Yes, ransom notes. A chilling photo from the home of Savannah Guthrie's missing mother shows blood splattered on the walkway as investigators probed a possible ransom note. The image showed blood puddled just feet from the doorstep from Nancy Guthrie's $1 million Tucson, Arizona home and Ring doorbell camera missing. It was unclear whether the Ring camera had been removed prior to the 84-year-old's abduction. She's last seen at the house where she lives alone at around 9:45 p.m. on Saturday before she was mysteriously kidnapped. Family members then reported missing after she failed to appear for Sunday church services. The desperate hunt for Nancy Guthrie took another dramatic twist on Tuesday, with investigators now probing possible ransom notes. Pima Sheriff County Office acknowledged a ransom note sent, what purports to be a ransom note sent to TMZ on Tuesday afternoon, 3 days after the 84-year-old was snatched from her $1 million home in Tucson, Arizona in the middle of the night, triggering a desperate search. This doesn't sound hopeful, but let's see TMZ idiots talking about, how excited they were to get this ransom note.
So we got something in our email that looks like it's written like a ransom note for Savannah Guthrie's mother.
Specific
And they're
request for
very
certain amounts of money,
very specific.
Bitcoin.
And also they say at the bottom, there are certain things they're saying about what she was wearing and damage to the house.
That doesn't make you awful.
They're clearly saying to verify that
it's us.
We know what we're talking about here.
So we've contacted the.
They're asking for Bitcoin. Now, I would think that Bitcoin is. I would think all that stuff is traceable. Bitcoin isn't traceable? Really?
The Sheriff's Department, and we want to get them this letter. We had a little trouble getting through to the right person, but the person we spoke with is now forwarding this to somebody in the detective bureau. So if my phone rings, I may have to stop. And
what's interesting is, there was just a news conference that just ended with the sheriff, and he was asked about, we're going to do this segment in a few minutes, but he was asked about a ransom note, and he just said, we're following all leads.
Yeah, and this it's again, we don't know
if
it's
this is
authentic,
legit, right.
if it's authentic or not, but they're when you read it, they're acting as if, only we would know these things, and we're serious, and there's a dollar demand and an or else in there. So
or else,
we will let you know as this thing kind of develops.
I don't know what or else, unless there's, or else is such a weird. Or else. So they seem to identify her clothing, which make it seem as if it's someone who actually, is associated with the kidnappers, and they're demanding millions of dollars in Bitcoin. Is this weird? By the way, this is your right, privilege, and some would say moral duty as an American to hate TMZ, because everything about them is revolting. Everything. Everything. Their purpose for existing, revolting. The way they go about their business, revolting. This entire, their political stance, revolting. Everything about them, just revolting. So no, you should hate them. But I think it's very, very weird. This whole story is just very, very weird to me. Anyway, getting back to this. Oh, man. Tucson TV station KOLD said it also received a ransom note. It's unclear if the notes are the same. Let's see what they got. Let's see what they got, because new haunting details. Ransom has been made. Multiple newsrooms report receiving what appears to be copies of a note, including TMZ, which reports the kidnappers demanding crypto, among other things. Nancy has been out of the Today Show anchor's sister for dinner and an evening playing mahjong before she disappeared. Police now fear that time is running out to find Nancy, who relies on daily medication to bring her home safely. And like I said, Richard, I'm with you. FTMZ. They laugh at Charlie, we laugh at them. And they did laugh at Charlie. They were cheering his death. So they're scum. I'm with you totally. I still feel sympathy. And even though I think that she's a terrible human being, I feel sympathy for her mother. She clearly needs her medication. I mean, you know, this whole bruised hand thing happening. You know, anyhow, there's pictures of the blood spatter. That's not a good sign. That looks like it came from a serious cut. We found this little nitrile glove. This is also such a weird language. You better pay us or else. This sounds like the way kids talk. Who the heck says or else? Like this is the weirdest thing. This is just a weird story. Who the heck kidnaps old people? Who writes a ransom note to TMZ? Who demands Bitcoin? Who puts in the ransom note or else? Was she targeted because she's Savannah Guthrie's mother? Was it just that she had a nice house? This is the weirdest story. Look at her sons-in-laws. I don't know anything about the Nancy Guthrie family tree. You would word it as, I'm just thinking, like, if I was a kidnapper, okay? Look, maybe you have AI. Maybe I would have AI write something to make it less identifiable that it's me. Possibly. But it would be like, if you want to see your mother alive, you better, we expect to see a deposit of, we're expecting you to come up with $10 million in Bitcoin within the next 24 hours. Love the kidnappers. P.S. She needs her meds. She probably needs to act quick. Something to that effect. Something to that effect. You better. That's what I'm saying. It's the weirdest language in the world. Or else. You think she's dead? 72 hours is a long time. It's a long time. You think it's the cartel? That's what you think. Yeah, something like that. You can be more gruesome if you want to be. That's another thing. That's what I thought also. Like, you're like, we don't want the police involved here. If that happens, we're going to send you her hand. Ah, 60 miles from the border. Ah, well, that would have been much easier to cross a year and a half ago than it is now. Yeah, I would think that by now we would have like a blood analysis to see, is this her blood or someone else's blood? It's very slow. I don't know what to make of it. I don't know what to make of it. Or else we'll be very, very angry with you. We'll write you a letter telling you how angry we are. Yes. Yes. We're gonna be really disappointed in your behavior. This whole story is very strange. This is a very strange story. Normally you kidnap a kid, not an old woman. And I think part of the reason for that is there's an assumption that people sort of give up on old people. So unless they know it's Savannah Guthrie's mother, that's why I was saying, like, maybe she was targeted. We'll get much more notoriety if we, you know, get a family member of someone famous. I'm not assuming that this is the case. I'm not assuming that this is the case. No. Antifa is freaking, those thugs are freaking racists. They are freaking racist, but she's not black. So maybe she would be spared by them, because Antifa is very, very racist. It's kind of horrible how racist they are. Don't believe me? Don't believe me? I got my proof. This is an ICE interaction here. It's kind of a funny ICE interaction.
Yeah, families should be ripped apart. That's kind of our energy. Like we should rip people apart from their families.
Are you a man?
I love black people. I don't think white people would be saying that.
Wow, is that a question?
Clearly it was. Clearly it was like he had a sore point there. Are we gonna get to see this woman? No, we're not gonna get to see her. So what happens when a black guy asks a question like that?
Yeah, families should be ripped apart. That's kind of our energy. Like we should rip people apart from their families.
Are you a man?
Wow, is that a question?
Wow.
Okay. How do you feel about ripping people from their families? Does that feel good?
Fucking house nigga in here. Sir, I need to move. Fucking house nigga, where's your...
Sir, I need to move from my vehicle. I don't know if this is the person who he's saying sir to. It's one of them, right? It's one of them he's saying sir to.
Does that feel good?
Fucking house nigga in here. Sir, I need to move. Fucking house nigga, where's your...
What was that? What was that?
Fucking KKK.
Look how they just get away with saying that.
Fucking house nigga in here. Sir.
He got called a hard R there. He got called a hard R.
I need to move. Fucking house nigga, where's your fucking KKK?
What the fuck's wrong with you people?
Why are you calling a woman a man? I mean, what kind of a guy does that?
Fucking house nigga, bitch.
I assume it's this individual.
Go look for your fucking slave.
There you go. That was definitely a hard R.
A warning for what, sir? A warning for what?
Warning to quit following our vehicle.
Because?
Because we're conducting law enforcement operations.
Yes, and we're allowed to film you doing those law enforcement operations.
You're not allowed to stalk us. I mean, they might be allowed to. They shouldn't be allowed to stalk them.
We still have a First Amendment, sir.
Yeah, First Amendment doesn't mean that you can go following around. like, I mean, I guess, like I said, SCOTUS gives pretty broad latitude on that end.
We are not impeding your operations. We're merely filming them.
Now you are interfering with our operations, so do not continue to follow.
I technically think that ICE is incorrect on the law on that one. I think they actually do have a legal right to follow them. That is the default. The default comeback is always some sort of racist thing. Why would they stop and not try to lose them? Oh, well. Okay, I wasn't going to share this. Let me see how long it takes me to find this. This is the clip. This is the clip. This is ICE trying to lose them.
Around a rosy, a pocket full of roses, ashes, ashes, we all fall down. Ring around a rosy, a pocket full of roses, ashes, ashes, we all fall down.
So there you go. Why were they doing that? The reason they were doing that is because other ICE agents were actually busy apprehending illegals. And they basically were like, all right, you go drive in a circle and let these idiots follow you. Finally tonight, we should talk about our based Vice President, J.D. Vance, going after
Andrew Mountbatten.
Going after Prince Andrew for his connection to Epstein.
There were some scandalous photos of him on the floor with a young woman. Should he testify in Capitol Hill?
I saw Keir Starmer said something about this, right? That he should go and testify. I mean, look, I'm certainly open to it. I think we let congressional Republicans determine whether he adds anything. I know that they're doing a very exhaustive investigation because the thing that people always, I think, forget or sometimes forget about the Epstein investigation is there was a Department of Justice investigation back, I think, in 2007. It was a very bad investigation. There are a lot of things that they didn't try to uncover, a lot of things they didn't try to look at. I would say because they were trying to protect a lot of their friends, but whatever the explanation is, we know that original investigation was very broken. So there's a lot of documents, a lot of information the Department of Justice never even had to begin with because of how broken that early investigation was. I think what the House GOP is trying to do is really exhaustively go through what were his relationships. Was he doing anything financially that was interesting? How did the guy make his money to begin with? That's always been one of the craziest parts of this story is this guy came from nowhere and all of a sudden.
Oh, so I broke that down yesterday where he probably got his money from. So I'm probably clipping that. I'm planning on clipping it like later when I finish working here.
Suddenly he's a math teacher and now he's like a billionaire. That doesn't make a ton of sense to me. And I think the House GOP investigation is trying to get to the bottom of a lot of that stuff. I'll let them determine whether they should talk to Prince Andrew. I'd certainly be open to it, but it's their call, not mine.
That is Prince Andrew, the perv. So I don't know why it is that I can't get this show like normally, but Andrew's been booted out of the Royal Lodge under the cover of darkness after the latest release of Epstein files as police probe victim being jetted to the UK to have sex with the then prince. He was stripped of his titles. Andrew Mountbatten Windsor has been booted out of the Royal Lodge in the dead of night as he begins his new chapter on the King's Sandringham estate. The former Duke of York, no longer, was told to leave his stately home earlier than expected after his brother King Charles became increasingly concerned by allegations made against him, is understood. It follows the publication of an email on Monday night released in the latest batch of the Epstein files where Andrew appeared to tell financier Jeffrey Epstein he wanted to be his pet. What is wrong with people? Police also announced on Tuesday they would assess claims Epstein trafficked a second woman to the UK to have sex with the disgraced former prince. Andrew is now believed to have vacated his £30 million, 31-room Royal Lodge 3 months after handing back his lease. He was driven 132 miles to Sandringham and transported under the cover of darkness. Andrew will be temporarily staying at Wood Farm Cottage before moving permanently next door to Marsh Farm by the start of April upon completion of renovations. Insiders have told the Daily Mail that Andrew may pop up at Windsor again from time to complete his move or to even go riding again. They suggested that it would take some time to fully clear Royal Lodge of every last box that the former Duke of York would likely need to go back there to stay occasionally over the next few months. This is sick. This is him crouched over an unidentified woman in one of the latest photos released in the disclosures of the files linked to Jeffrey Epstein. This is him leaving. Royal Lodge in Windsor Gray Park is pictured. Andrew's moving to Marsh Farm in Norfolk on his brother's Charles estate. He will now live in Norfolk, but may be back at Windsor from time to time, a source said. A steady stream of vehicles were also said to have been spotted around the Windsor mansion after Andrew's exit. Former Prince is now under mounting pressure to cooperate with U.S. officials investigating Epstein's crimes, with sources saying it's a matter of personal conscience as well as his public duty. I'm going to pause this and tell you right now. Zero chance he ever appears before the House, the Senate, or any American government tribunal of any kind. Zero. Because there's no way on earth that the royals want it. There's no way on earth that the UK government wants it. This is an utter humiliation. And having him, the reason you cart him off to Norfolk or whatever, away from, where everyone recognizes royalty is because this humiliation. So, yeah, they most certainly will not cave to whatever pressure may mount from Democrats or Republicans or J.D. Vance or any assorted combination thereof. There's no way in hell that guy is ever going to answer questions. because the royal family won't want it. Prince Charles is not going to want it. It's humiliating for him. And he's going to say no. There's no way you can legally force him to do it. You can issue a standing warrant for his arrest, which even that is politically tenuous. There's no way we're going to ever see this guy testify. No chance. Never going to happen. Maduro, that's what I said about Maduro. Maduro was a criminal cartel. You're not going to fly in. You know what an international incident would be with one of America's strongest allies if they kidnapped Prince Andrew? It would be such a disastrous thing. It'd be so disastrous. It's never going to happen. It's never going to happen. While Buckingham Palace has declined to comment on the latest revelations from the U.S. Department of Justice file dump, royal sources told Daily Mail on Monday night that providing testimony is now a matter for Andrew and his conscience. Insiders also said it was always a principle that those who have relevant information should participate in any lawful inquiry on any subject. The development will add fuel to the fire of calls for the former prince to break his self-imposed silence and publicly cooperate with officials investigating Epstein's crimes and the network of contacts that aided and abetted him. However, despite being seen driving and riding around Windsor, where he was astonishingly photographed smiling and waving to onlookers without an apparent care in the world on Monday, there continued to be deafening silence from the former royal. It is understood King Charles was not aware of the level of detail in the latest files, which revealed the depths of the relationship between his brother and the sick, demented Jeffrey Epstein. Buckingham Palace appears to be learning about the new material at the same time as the public, but the ensuing headlines will be troubling given Andrew was a working member of the royal family and held a prestigious role as a UK trade ambassador during his association with Epstein. The King and Queen pointedly stated last October, as it was announced Andrew was being stripped of his titles, that their thoughts and utmost sympathies have been and will remain with the victims and survivors of any and all forms of abuse. Although Andrew is now transferred into his new abode, his former wife, Sarah Ferguson, is not thought to have been so lucky. She is yet to find a new permanent property because she won't move in with her ex, and the pair's children can't offer them residence, it has been claimed. The former Duchess of York is in the midst of a housing crisis and is clinging on to the hope of finding a new place in Windsor. Can I get a flat to rent? But the 66-year-old will have to lower her expectations about the standard of her next home after the decades in the Royal Lodge. Fergie is said to have been in a fragile state over a fall from grace, telling friends her recent travails were not good for my mental health. There's him, the infamous picture of Prince Andrew, Virginia Guthrie, and Ghislaine Maxwell. Andrew and Fergie lost their titles in the Windsor Mansion, previously home to the Queen Mother, over their long friendship with the billionaire pedo Epstein. But while Andrew is begrudgingly off to Sandringham, Ms. Ferguson will not be moving in because she would prefer to stay in Windsor area, as sources close to her said. Relations are warmer between Ferguson and the couple's daughter, but no offer of permanent accommodation has been extended to the mother, or report in the Times added. For now, Andrew and Sarah, what a messed up life. What a friggin' messed up life. There's a lot of good messages you should take from this. There's a lot of good messages you should take from this. See, this you should find heart in something like this. For now, Andrew and Sarah have a housing crisis and may mean that lower expectations. Oh, we got this already. I don't know why they're saying it again. Thames Valley Police said on Tuesday it would assess an allegation that Epstein trafficked a second woman to the UK to have sex with Andrew Mountbatten, Windsor. The alleged encounter is said to take place at the Royal Lodge in 2010. The claims marked the first time an Epstein survivor has alleged they were sexually abused at a royal residence. The woman, who's not British, was in her 20s at the time, said she was given a tour of Buckingham Palace and tea after spending the night with Andrew. Meanwhile, the revelation on Tuesday that Sarah Ferguson sent a flirty email to Jeffrey Epstein describing a single female friend with a great body he should get to know after he was convicted of the child sex crimes added fuel to the flames. Like I need a shower when I'm done with this show. Wow. Former Duchess of York also suggested in a personal email to the pedophile that he can marry her and they could take on the mystery woman as a member of their staff. Allegations were first made against Andrew. You feel a lot less sympathy for Fergie now? A lot less sympathy for her? Allegations were first made against Andrew by Virginia Guthrie in 2014, who claimed she was trapped by him at the age of 17. Former princess consistently denied all wrongdoing and looks like a jackass in the process. So, what was I talking about when I said there's a lot you can take from this? People who have wealth and no purpose have miserable lives. Why would you find yourself here? Everyone dreams of living like the good life of having great wealth. And great wealth can be phenomenal as far as an opportunity to have a rewarding life, but all too often having great vast sums of money or access there too is actually a recipe for disaster. Look at how miserable you have to be in this realm. They're all so utterly unhappy. And we tend to think that, well, if I was in that situation, I wouldn't be living that type of life. I would have a healthy life. And maybe that's true. Maybe. But it seems as if having to not have to work for a living, this is not the blessing that you would think the charmed life of being a prince or princess or king or queen with your fictitious titles. I mean, not fictitious, they're genuine titles with respect to King Charles, but it's in name only. He's a kino. He's a king in name only. They give him the trappings of wealth that's like on permanent loan from the British people. This doesn't, what we assume is a happy, good life seems like such deep internal misery. Deep internal misery. It's a reminder not to sit and look at other people who have wealth, whether it's because they're royalty or whether they're American royalty, meaning that they're celebrities or sports athletes. We tend to assume that these people haven't made and that they have actual happiness. I mean, look at the disaster of a life that Andrew and Fergie have. Just utterly disastrous life. Absolute misery. Absolute misery. Imagine prostrating yourself to a convicted sex offender that you should get married. Like, how sad when you're married to a former duke. I mean, what a sad, terrible life this is. And you can say it's self-inflicted. And yeah, there's definitely, stupid choices that they've been making. And I'm not saying this out of sympathy for them, because Lord knows their actions don't beg for any sort of sympathy. I'm simply saying the reality is it's not a happy life. It's just not. And it seems as if more people end up like that than actually living a happy, rewarding life. The need that God gave us to actually go out and earn a living is a secret blessing. It feels like a burden. It's actually a secret blessing, because it keeps us busy doing things that are productive, that ultimately lead to our actual happiness rather than the trappings of what seems like should be happiness. But living an entire life on permanent vacation because you're a royal or you're the trust fund baby or a child of a celebrity or an actual celebrity, these are not the happy lives. Invariably, they turn out miserable one way or another. Rarely do they manage to avoid falling prey to like heavy use of drugs, and just self-misery. I mean, just look at every one of these stupid magazines that tracks their lives so that, you know, the less serious amongst us can basically sit there gleefully reveling in whatever misery our heroes have. So you shouldn't worship any people at all. Dan Vicious gifting one new member of the following. Thank you, Dan. Thank you kindly. Much obliged to you. Who'd you bring into the following? Who'd you give us? Where is it?
Order in the court, please.
Following person is now a member of the following, courtesy of Dan Vicious. Who was it? I don't see it. I don't see it. I don't see it. I don't see it. I don't know if it's here or not. Well, I know it happened. I just don't know who it was, and whoever it was, I think it'd be appropriate if you would express your gratitude to Dan Vicious for bringing you on into the following. Thank you, brother. Walkman Do. Oh, sorry, I missed a couple of these here. JSBL4JB says, sounds like teenagers with the ransoms, maybe they did or did not have done the kidnapping. So I guess the reasons to think that they had done the kidnapping is they seem to have knowledge as to what she was wearing at the time she was kidnapped. That is something you would think. That was the indicators that they used in order to prove that they were legit. And that seems to be a pretty decent way of doing it. If you're following to warn suspects, is that not interference, which is a felony, correct, Joe? You can't charge them with it until they actually warn the suspects. I thought this was funny. Antifa looking to replace their USA team. That's pretty funny, Kimmy. Would it be fair to question whether the British are still worthy of being called trusted allies? To question whether the British are still worthy of being called trusted allies. Would it be fair to question that? No, it's totally fair. I mean, I think the UK has been taken over by the leftist ideology, which has basically invited an invasion of their shores. So, you know, the Keir Starmers of the world are basically skunking that country. But, you know, as allies go, it's hard to come up with someone who's a closer ally to the United States. You're a big fan of Canada? Are you a big fan of them? France? Germany? You big fans of theirs? I know Israel gets no love these days. So when you're trying to rank, okay, you tell me, Walkman Do. Name America's 5 closest allies. It's hard to do that without listing UK in there. Now you might say that their allyship isn't worth the paper it's written on, and you could have you can make a pretty potent point in that direction. I'm just saying, as far as our closest allies, it's hard to come up with a handful that are considered closer allies than the UK. Idle hands, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Idle hands are the devil's playground. FYI, the former prime now is addressed as Drew. Oh, is he? Andrew is addressed as Drew? Is that he got stripped of the N also? He was just stripped of his dukeship? Is it called dukeship? Of his duke status? He wasn't just stripped of his title, he was stripped of the first 2 letters of his name. And fitting it is. And fitting it is. I'm confused. Hands One Pack says ICE officers should initiate stalking and harassment PPO against these individuals. I like it. I'm just saying, I'm not sure. You never heard of government agencies saying we're being stalked. Bitcoin is traceable if it is all on the blockchain. I thought it was. I was like, it seems like such a stupid thing. It's like demanding marked money. I saw some hands ones pack. Also, it says Trump is time limited to make claim that falls outside his terms. So he has to sue or loses the opportunity. I agree with you. I have no problem with him bringing that lawsuit. I'm simply saying I just don't know what we would do with respect to finding someone who can negotiate it fairly. The only person who would seem to be in that position are people who are tremendous TDS, right? So you would think. Which sounds weird for me to be calling for that, but the reality is, anyone else, you have to sit there asking yourself, is it really an arm's length transaction when they're negotiating settlement? The IRGC is going down. Glory to Persia. What say you? I say that would be an amazing thing. Go Persia. There you go. I'm with you. Go Persia. Islamic State is a very unhealthy thing for anyone who has to be in contact with them. And that's what I got for you tonight, my friends. I thank you all for joining me. God willing, tomorrow evening, I will be back here at 10 p.m. Until then, I urge you to make sure that you do not eat any of that lab meat. It was never meant for you. It was meant for some racist who's basically going to call a black guy the hard N-word when they get called out for being a man. And do not eat the bugs. Don't do it. Stay away from the bugs. Have a good night, everyone. And as always, Godspeed.